All right. Thanks for joining us today. We are talking about the topic of our times. What is artificial intelligence going to do to our businesses, to our careers? Just about every industry out there is contending with this very kind of question or threat, however you want to look at it. We're going to deep dive in to this conversation with Dr. Hall, who I'll introduce, in regards to how it is that we think we can stand out from artificial intelligence. We're going to talk briefly about the side of the business, specifically real estate agents, that I just think it's absolutely going to decimate. You're going to have a hard time, living a successful career as a transactional real estate agent. We've talked about this in the past, not necessarily related to AI, but just how to be a better agent and a healthier business. And then we're going to talk about how to transition, if you're not already there, or maybe even more so if you are, into being a relational agent and how to AI proof your business. So we're going to get into some details with Dr. Hall. Dr. Hall is a business psychologist. He's an executive coach, a public speaker, and a multi-time author. And we delve quite often into the specific practical application of the things that you learn here and how to apply it on a day-to-day basis. So with that, we'll bring Dr. Hall in. How you doing today, Dr. Hall?
I'm quite well. Grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about this one because everybody's asking the question, and I'll just throw it out there. I think you've got the answer. The details of the answer. I think the answer is be more human, because AI can't be more human. So what does that mean? And maybe that's you know
Well, AI pretty soon will be able to pretend to be human, but there's still a difference.
yeah.
There's going to be a difference.
Yeah, and how can we set ourselves apart and make buyers and sellers want to pursue human agents as opposed to, well, why wouldn't I just use AI if it can do all these things?
Well, I think there will be a role for AI in real estate with high capacity realtors, but it won't be the totality of what they do. They'll certainly use it, but I don't think that will completely define what they do. I think those who I think there's a subset of realtors, as there will be a subset of almost all people who will whose jobs will go away because they have not differentiated themselves in the land of the real world.
Yeah.
All of their world is digital, and all of their world is transactional.
Yeah, no, I love that because you're right. I have a tech background, so I have an appreciation for technology. I think you can be high tech, but you have to be more high touch. And to think I'm not going to introduce artificial intelligence into my business, right? That'd be remiss. I'm going to be more efficient. I'm going to be able to respond faster, all the things. So I'm not, you can't ignore it, but you certainly have to differentiate yourself.
Yeah, I mean you're a gear geek. I mean just confess it, admit it. You
Yep.
you love you love gear.
Yep.
And that's not what defines you. You'll only use those will differentiate you as tools, not as the content or the substance of what you do.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Well, let me do just a couple of small housekeeping items here real quick, and we'll get into the meat of the conversation. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Jerod Lee. I'm the associate broker and team lead here at My Home Connection, also known as MHC Realty. Our sponsor for today actually is going to be in large part what we would encourage you to lean into, the things that Dr. Hall and I work through in the way of business coaching, life coaching, is going to speak to all of this, because we believe that the healthiest business is repeat and referral business, and you do that through a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today. So I think they dovetail in real well together. And of course, we've got to provide all the standard tools and techniques that one would want in a real estate business. So feel free to reach out to us in regards to a no obligation consultation, and we'd love to see how we can help. But so let's dig into um, kind of how quickly AI is coming, right? Because it seemed like it's been a buzzword in the background for quite some time, and then it seems almost like overnight you've got billions, if not trillions, of dollars being thrown at it. Maybe that's just my perception, but it's a hockey stick thing. It appears like most.
Well, I think it's been coming for a long time. I think what we've seen in the last few months is a rapid improvement in what artificial intelligence is able to do. I think if we just look at if we look at graphics, less than a year ago, you could always tell if it was an artificial AI generated image because the people had an extra arm or six fingers, or one arm was a foot longer than the other because the AI hadn't figured out how to render people accurately. Now there are videos that are so accurate it's hard to know unless you're really careful if it's real or not.
Hmm. Hmm. So it's been there. It's just more. It's usable. It's obviously usable today.
It's massively improved, and the, we're going to continue to see that improvement in power as the chips get better, as the engineers and the scientists continue to figure out how to make them better, and here in the U.S. Ramping up chip production. We see that in our hometown that one of the major chip manufacturers is putting billions in a fab facility, and there are other companies putting in fab facilities all over the country. So in our hometown, we're seeing data centers pop up in the desert because we have an abundant water supply for cooling, and we have relatively, we're relatively storm free in those areas. No
There you go.
earthquakes, no hurricanes, and so those make really ideal places for data centers.
Very little in the way of natural disasters. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, out in the desert. I mean, you might get a brush fire, but that's really not going to affect the data center.
Yeah. Well, it just popped into my head, and I apologize to the audience up front if I really butcher this, but I was thinking I'd like to give kind of my definition of AI and kind of how it works to give folks some insight um, into how it might affect your life in the way of results. And if an AI expert comes in, they're probably going to laugh. Actually, I'm sure they're going to laugh. But here's my understanding is that you have all of this wealth of data out there on the internet in some digital format,
Hmm.
um, and the AI is now it's a large language model where it can pull from all these disparate resources in very in a rapid fashion, and then begin to string together. And this is obviously the text-based versions of this, and be able to string words together that make logical sense. One word after another. So if you say, hey, I want some information on this home, right? We talked about it briefly before the episode. Um, I want to look at homes in this area that are this age. It's going to pull from all of these resources, right? What permitting was done, what's typically associated to an age of that home in that area. Um, was there any natural disasters? All of these things, and collapse it all down into kind of a summary and give you the response that you asked for. Such as,
Hmm.
is this a good home to buy? At this price. And it'll understand median, household values and all of this. So I'm just saying it's based upon kind of the quality of data in as the quality of data out.
Hmm.
And I'm setting the stage here because there's going to be some data that it's not going to know, and that's from our buyers and sellers because it's in their head, right? Their objectives, their goals, their desires. So anyway, just know that what's out there in digital land, as long as it's accurate, is going to be condensed and available very quickly.
Well, I guess I'd push back on what's inside us, um, because our behavior predicts what's inside of us, and what AI agents will be able to do is at some point investigate from public records, and if they buy this information, which retailers are selling about us, um, they can find out our buying habits, our consumer behavior, and as a result, they can paint a probabilistic portrait of the kind of person that we are. You know, I'll give you an old example. What's the best interview question you can give to a potential employee? So just one question, and the answer is a number. So what's your FICO score? You can predict the likelihood that a person is going to be a good employee by how high their FICO score is. I mean, there's a ton of reporting on that. Well, just think if a computer agent is able to go and find out all of this behavior about you, not just your FICO score, but all the commercially available material about you, your buying habits, the kind of car you drive. You can start to make behavioral predictions. And really all that these computing model, not all, one of the things these computing models are doing is making probabilistic statements. And so, you talked, I'll use an easy example. You said these are large language models. Well, computers don't know how to speak English, but they do know the probability that certain words will be before or after others. So we would say, what's the probability of these two words together? Green cat. It's pretty low. But even less high probability is cat green. And the computer can know that and do that for all combinations of words and can come up with predictions. Well, the same is true about analyzing data, and it is just making probabilistic statements, which is why some of the computer, some of the AIs, you can prompt it. Once it gives you back a bad answer, you can tell it to think harder, or try again,
Hmm.
work more, whatever,
Slightly
and
reword
it'll
it.
go,
Yeah.
yeah, and reword it. So there's going to be a lot of data about your consumer behavior, or as a buyer or a seller, that at some point may become available to the other person on the other side of the transaction.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I told, well, I know that I agree with your point, because the amount of data, we've seen this before, right? Stories that have been told about understanding consumer buying behavior and all
Yep.
that. It's just absolutely mind boggling, the things that it's been able to do for years, let alone what it's going to do going forward. But that's just even more of a reason for us to be more human. I know that there's things missing, because we're starting now to talk about hallucinations, right? And my uh, feeble kind of understanding of these hallucinations is it starts making assumptions, and because it doesn't have enough data, and it kind of goes in a direction that it thinks would be most probable, like you said.
Again, it's making a probabilistic statement. That probability is based on very little data, so the probability, so the guess is really, really wrong. And so have it use more computing power, and the guess will get better. As time goes on, Jerod, I think we're going to see fewer and fewer hallucinations. We're going to see more and more accurate first time hits on what you're looking for. And for people who subscribe to, the uh, the services, there are subscriptions that are, $300-$400 a month. You're getting the best computing power on those, and so there are very few hallucinations. And the data comes back right more often the first time.
Hmm.
So I think, realtors in time are going to decide that, okay, I'm going to subscribe to this, and we're going to do research to come up with a better negotiation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to be discouraging, but I do want our audience, right, the real estate agents and the lenders out there, to know that we've got to get ahead of this as best we can. There's really no reason why anything that can be automated won't be handled by AI. And for those that don't know, we've got AI making phone calls, having perfectly intelligent, sometimes not even noticeable conversations
Yep.
with people, booking showing appointments or consultation appointments, putting them
Yep.
on calendars, sending out reminders. I mean, it's doing all that.
Hmm.
We've got home builders that already have lock boxes on the home, so you could go out there with a phone number and get into a house. So that's new construction. Or maybe you have a licensed agent that's just a showing agent that doesn't make a percentage of commission or whatever. They just get paid for opening a house.
Yep.
Because you've given a summary of all the, to the individual of the house, maybe in written format, or shoot, maybe even translated to video, where you're like, before you go to the house, here's all the things you want to know, and it's an AI video. So I'm just, I'm just saying, don't hesitate, because you could get decimated very quickly if you think that it's not going to happen soon.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't appeal to fear.
Mm,
I mean, that fear is a really lousy long term motivator. I would go into AI with some level of curiosity and find out, hey, what can I learn to do with this? Um, if 100 years ago we were to say things like, those darn cars, they're ruining everything, they're loud and noisy, and what's going to happen to all the buggy whip manufacturers, which is the standard thing.
right.
Well, they all went out of business, and there was brief hardship for the people who made all those buggy whips, but in time they found other jobs. um, if you I think one of the things that I see is that if you're dealing with things in the real world, not in the digital world, and if you're dealing with people, where a human interaction, that the trust involved in a human interaction is important, then you probably are going to do well. If all you have is expertise, then that's going to get replaced. I mean, because the AI models are going to know more than you,
Mhm.
but there are other things that you can do that um, will cement your role in the minds of a buyer or a seller.
Yeah, well, let's transition to that. The one thing we didn't talk about specifically is, AI will be automated. The speed is going to be just mind blowing, and then they're available 24/7. So those are just
Sure.
things that it's going to really excel at. But as it relates to the things that we as humans should be doing already as real estate agents, and um, providing to our client to make them want to actively pursue human agents, as opposed to kind of that, click button, buy house, click button, get mortgage, idea. We've talked about resonance quite a bit, but if folks are new to the episode, to our, excuse me, our series, our channel here, can you kind of describe what resonance is? Because this is something, unless you think otherwise, I don't know how AI would ever accomplish.
Well, AI will be very good at pretending to be resonant, but that's different than a real person. So, I mean, at some point in the future, there will be, I mean, and they can already do it now. They can take my photo, they can take recordings of my voice, and then create lifelike conversations on based on written text that sounds like me with my vocal inflection, that has my face doing it, even though I'm not involved in it at all. Do you know that is happening?
Yeah, yeah.
So you can pretend, but that's different than in real life. What you need, and so resonance is a term coined. I don't know coined, but it's applied to this content by a guy named Daniel Goleman, who is the person who did coin the term emotional intelligence. And resonance is your ability to manage the thoughts and emotions of other people. It's your ability to join somebody in their emotion, whatever it is, positive or negative, and draw them to a different emotional state. For benefit, take them from a bad emotional state, a negative emotional state, and bring them to a positive emotional state. That's what resonance does, and that's one of the unique skills that socially skilled or emotionally intelligent people are able to do. And I think there are two things in terms of resonance that humans can do in high stakes situations like the purchase or the sale of a home. The first is talking people off the ledge. You know, if people have anxiety, they're likely to do things that are dangerous. Um, and that's why we talk them off the ledge. You have anxiety, you're emotionally overwhelmed, you're going to jump off a ledge. Well, the analogy or the metaphor here is that in real estate situations, part of the negotiation process is risky and somewhat frightening. It's like, oh, what if, you know, why don't I just sell it for nothing? That way, I'm sure I'm going to get rid of it. And so you have to. It's like, okay, slow down, cowboy. We hold your horses. Here's what I think can happen, and here's a number that I think will make sense, rather than somebody acting out of out of worry and anxiety. So that's the first thing. The
Okay.
second thing is, you as a real person can tie them to the mast. And this comes from the story of Odysseus. Odysseus is the story of, or the Odyssey, which is a book written by Homer like 3,000 years ago. Actually, it was verbal. I mean, it was just a story memorized and told.
Wow.
And over time, it was eventually written down. But the story is of Odysseus, who is coming back from the Trojan War, back to his beloved wife, Penelope. And on his way back, it takes him an extra 10 years to get home. So if you think about the geography, he's sailing from North Africa over to near Greece. It's not that long, but it takes him 10 years to get there. And that's the Odyssey. Well, at one point, he they're going past this place where there are these sirens, and they're not like they're not like sirens that we hear on police cars, but these are beautiful women on a rock singing this beautiful song. And because it's so beautiful, all of the sailors sail into the rocks and are destroyed.
Mm.
Well, Odysseus wants to hear this song. Nobody's ever heard the song and survived. Everybody who hears it crashes against the rocks. Well, he wants to hear it. So he tells his crew, stuff your ears with wax and tie me to the mast. I want something so badly, but I want you to restrain me
Mm.
from pursuing it. I want it really badly, but I need you to tie me to the mast.
Interesting.
So what happens is his sailors tie him to the mast. He's begging them, please but they can't hear him. Let me go. I want to go. And they don't hear him. And their direct order was, whatever I say until we're past here, don't let me go. Well, that's what trusted advisors are going to do. When people have excessive desire and they want something so bad, part of our job is to tie them to the mast. Yes, you can desire it, but I'm going to counsel you and advise you not to do something stupid because you have excessive desire. So
Mm.
those are the two things that I think uh, advisors in high stakes situations are going to continue to be able to do: talk people off the ledge and tie them to the mast.
Yeah, and I've got to imagine that, once you do that, and because you're watching out for their best interest,
Sure.
there's an amount of appreciation associated to that, because you're setting aside your preferences, right? Part of resonance is moving aside your thoughts, preferences, feelings, emotions, and working, with the client. And you
Right.
do that, right? That shows a lot of caring about your clients, and everybody appreciates being cared for.
Sure.
I don't know how it would accomplish either one of those.
Well, AI will pretend to care about you. There are people right now, even in the state that AI is in now, they're using AI as their personal counselor. And
That's
I
wild.
know people who are doing that. What they're doing is they're just going on a reservoir of perceived expertise that the AIs are taking and scouring from the internet and spitting back.
Hmm.
But it'll spit back, excuse me, it'll spit back the biases that the AI has.
Hmm.
So people are already using it as a trusted advisor.
Wow. Well, and I've heard horror stories about that. Uh, you know,
There are those, yes,
I don't want to
and
mention it here, but it's as bad as you'd think it could be,
yes, it's
which,
it's awful.
which is awful. Yeah. So, be human, and, help folks, accomplish their goals and objectives. The other ones, just for the sake of time, I want to kind of, condense down into value. And I think AI is going to be able to do some of this. Um, but I'd like to think humans can do it even, better, because there's just some information that it doesn't have. The system, the AI platform, the AI stack doesn't have,
Yet.
yet. Yeah, I mean, I remember, I know we talked about it before the episode that, a seller, it could dig into, kind of where the seller might be positioned at. Are they receptive to aggressive negotiations or, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and maybe I think more highly of myself in determining or assessing not just price, but specific terms. I know that an older couple that have health issues and pets in the house put a value on reduction in price if they've been made to help get out of their home smoothly, a
Yeah.
rent back, so kind of combining, reading their situation and also putting together a strategy that kind of addresses both of those. Like, hey, my buyer wants to buy your home, but at this price, but they're willing to let you rent it for a month and make a transition to your new home. Anyway, I don't, what do you think about AI kind of bringing all that together?
Again, I think in time AI will be able to do that, and I think you're going to have AIs negotiating with AIs. But that's different than communicating that information in a way that people are going to be able to receive it. Now,
Mm,
there's a subset of the population who are going to be okay with that. Those are not your clients.
yeah.
Your clients are people who need a real person to metaphorically hold their hand to walk them through this difficult process. And as much comfort as some people can get from an AI agent, most of us are going to want a real person. And that's because human beings were built to be around each other. All AI can do is imitate the real, and it'll
Mm,
imitate it very well, but that's different than the real thing. And
yeah.
so there's a subset of people who will always want the real thing, and those are your clients.
Mm. What do you think of the idea of even if AI can do these things, does it know that it should? For example, you got somebody buying and you're sensing the anxiety go up, like they really love the house, but now they're like, uh, you know, and now you know that this particular person is going to do well with educating them on the process a little bit more so they're not uncomfortable. Or, hey, when you're in the home, these are the things you got to think about maintaining the home. It could do those things, but is it going to understand your client well enough to deliver the right thing at the right time?
See that's the thing. That what you're getting at are the 10,000 subtleties that happen in human interaction that are currently not
Mm,
capturable
mm,
with an artificial intelligence system, and they happen at such fast pace that human beings can see them now, and, or experience them now and respond to them in real time, like what we're doing now. I mean, this is you're getting visual and auditory information from me. You're not getting olfaction, you're not getting smell,
mm-hmm,
you're not getting touch,
mm-hmm.
and you're not getting taste. Well, probably not a lot of taste happening in real estate transactions, but there's a lot that doesn't happen in terms of touch and olfaction. I mean, we sense a lot about other people and how they're doing through smell. We don't really know it, but we really are responding in real time to the smell that people are giving off, and it does affect our brains outside of our conscious awareness. It's a
Mm,
topic for another day,
yeah.
um, but all of those things happen in real time, and the speed with which if we're human experts, if we spend a lot of time in unstructured play on the playground with age-related peers, we know how to negotiate because we've been doing it for years. AI will have a little lag, and then there's got to be an interface, and so you've either got to type it in or you've got to speak it in, and then it's got to come back. It's got to compute and come back in real time. Human beings can get that on the fly, so there currently is an advantage for humans because, frankly, we're just so good at interacting with other humans, provided
Yeah,
we've had practice.
yeah, it's not like we calculate things maybe any faster, but we know what to calculate, what not to calculate, how to respond. Empathy, uh, Well, here's a good question for you. Will AI have empathy per se, or is it
It'll fake empathy. Yeah, I mean
okay?
It'll
Artificial
mimic
empathy.
empathy. Pardon me?
Interesting. Artificial empathy. It's like I think you might
Yeah,
be yeah, okay. I know you've never bought a home before, and I know it's a 20-year-old home. You probably have some concerns about, you know.
sure, sure. I mean, when I was a when I was a student in the 1980s, there was a basic computer program called ELIZA, and it was trained to just, and this is in the 1980s, spit back and re-paraphrase what you said, and people would use this in the 1980s, and they said it was really helpful to them.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
so so it the ability to pretend to have empathy has been around really for 40, 45 years.
Hmm.
Um, but real empathy in real time is really, really hard to fake.
Yeah. Yeah, we when I say that I do a weekly podcast specifically on real estate things with a lender, and we had this similar conversation about how is AI going to affect the industry, kind of at the nuts and bolts level of real estate. We're
Sure.
talking about the psychology of it all and how to differentiate yourself. But it was interesting because in real time we asked AI. Well, actually, let me back up a little bit. So Chase, the lender. Um, Said, that the AI was learning him, and he felt like it was learning how it should respond to him specifically.
Yeah.
And he was pretty confident in it. So he asked real time on the episode, "Are you telling me things in a way I'd like to hear it?" And it admitted, like, "Yeah, I've learned you." And basically, the Reader's Digest was, "Yeah, I'm talking to you like you'd like to be talked to."
Yeah. Yeah. And there's this unfortunate story of a person who created an emotional attachment to their AI, and then all the data got dumped. And they said it was like losing a friend.
Wow.
They
Wow.
were really grieving it because this was, it was giving a human being the responses that they would want. I mean, what better boyfriend or girlfriend could you want than somebody who does exactly what you want? I mean, it's very seductive, but it's not real.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the other thing that I found was interesting is that we asked it in real time on the episode, um, can AI replace real estate agents and lenders? And it said no. And it rattled off some things that it didn't think that it could ever do. I think it was more uh, computer related response than
Sure.
what we're talking, because it's a computer
Right.
saying it. But they leaned more in the human direction than I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
It was saying without saying, I can't do human things, and humans will always need to do them. And I was
Yeah.
like,
I'm
wow,
always going to want a human plumber. I am.
yeah,
Um, because that's a person dealing in the real world with physical things. And so, as long as we're dealing in the real world with physical things, and human beings are physical things, we have an advantage. If we're dealing in the digital space, AI can take over all of that.
yeah, interesting, interesting. Well, I know we got a hard stop here quickly, so I'll try to fast track it here. What's your thoughts on making recommendations, the overall assessment of the entire situation, right? One of our jobs is to provide the amount of information that any one person needs to make a good decision going forward.
Mhm.
We're the trusted advisor, we're the professional, so we see this all day, every day, based upon what they want to do, what the market's doing, what time of the year it is, all of those things, and we make a recommendation to do that. There's a lot of info I don't know that one could put together, and then uh, two, collapse it down into a very strong recommendation.
Well, that's the thing. It's the collapsing. I mean, part of being an expert is to be able to sift out signal from noise, and that's what experts are able to do. They're able to, if I go to a mechanic and I say, "Hey, I've got this noise that's really bothering me," and he goes, it's just, that's just raw metal scraping. I'll go get a pair of pliers and bend that back. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Um, well, it sounds awful to me, right? But he's able to interpret what I'm hearing in such a way to calm my fears. Well,
Mm.
the same is true with a real estate agent or any trusted advisor in a high stakes situation, is helping the person figure out, okay, this is important. This is information. It's not super important. Um, but I think the word you and I have used is trusted advisor, and the key word there is trust. That human beings can trust the expertise of an AI because it has access to more information than most of us do. But that's different than trusting that a human being is going to look out for our best interests. And
Mm.
that is a values, ethics, morality issue that AI certainly has not been able to imitate effectively.
You know, that was the answer that it gave me that I was surprised when we asked it in real time. Kind of the morality of it all. It just couldn't make a morality judgment call. That's right. The words kind of escaped me until you said that. And it's
Well, I'm glad
interesting that
I'm glad I gave you the same answer that the AI did. What did you need me for?
well, um, I find it interesting that it would know that it can't. That's pretty cool, and that it admitted it. Um, but that's kind of the takeaway of everything that we're talking about here, right? Is caring about somebody in their best interest enough to take all the data. You know, sometimes I say things and I don't know how it lands with folks. I'm like, I'm going to help with this transaction if it was me or a family member or a close friend doing this.
See, you just now said the important words. If it was me, that's empathy. That's putting yourself in the other person's position, imagining if I was you, and that's the thing that people, you know, AI models, AI agents can imitate empathy, but they can't have empathy. That's a
Mm,
uniquely human thing.
they would never have the ability to pretend that they were you because they're not human. They don't
Well, they
understand.
can pretend, but they can't actually have it.
Oh, interesting.
I
What a
mean, I
distinction.
can feel bad for you. I can put myself in your situation in my mind and feel bad. An
Yeah.
AI can't feel anything. It can only
Yeah.
pretend to feel things.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. It's the feeling that you have that carries weight with it, that is important to buyers and sellers. You,
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing actors do. Actors, they're pretending to have feelings on camera, and they're really good at it. And AI can pretend to have feelings, but that's different than actually having those feelings.
yeah, that makes a ton of sense because I watched a gentleman, he's actually a young actor, and he was comparing some AI clips that were put together with Oscar winning performances. And he kind of dissected it all. And that's exactly what you're talking about. You'd watch the AI clip and you didn't know what was missing, but you just knew something was missing. And I think it's exactly what you're talking about.
Right. But right in time, the acting will get better and better and more convincing, but it still won't be real. It'll just be pretend. I mean, when we
Mm,
watch movies, we cry, we laugh, we cheer, we get frightened. It evokes all those real emotions in us, but it's pretend.
yeah,
And so people are looking for that thing beyond pretend. And all that AI will ever be able to do is pretend. It'll
yeah.
be a very, very Oscar winning performance actor, but that's all it will ever be.
Interesting. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, I do want to quickly talk about follow up because I think
Sure.
it's where most are lost if you've got time. Um,
Well, if the doorbell rings, I'm out of time.
okay, gotcha. I'll try to wrap up the episode then. Um, we talk about repeat and referral business, and one of the big sayings in our we have a lot of them in our industry, and some that just take different periods of time after, sometimes it's, years, sometimes it's decades to hear something and get it. But a lot of times fortunes in the follow-up is the one that is often not fully embraced, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. And if I look at an AI versus a human, yes, a human, or excuse me, an AI can follow up, but a human follow up, in large part, my business is now coming from people that I've befriended. Um, and that they know that I'm not pretending to have empathy and that I really did the best job for them. And now they're fierce advocates for me. They've literally told other people, you're not using your next door neighbor or your, friend from high school or whatever. You're using Jerod. And I think that's what I'd like to convey in all of this is, you know, follow up with folks, cement a high degree of confidence in them that you did care about them, you did watch out for their best interest, and you are
Mhm.
there for them for whenever they need or their friends need.
Yeah,
Anyway,
exactly. And you can certainly use AI to facilitate your follow-ups, but it'll never substitute for a real follow-up.
yeah.
Um, a friend of mine worked in a technology company for 32 years, and he would regularly send handwritten notes. His handwriting was atrocious. His spelling was awful. And people would call him up and say, "I got your thank you note." And they'd say, "It's the first handwritten note I've gotten in the mail in 4 or 5 years."
They didn't care about the spelling, misspellings. They
They
didn't care.
didn't care about any of that.
They
Now,
appreciated the effort.
what people are doing is they're mimicking your handwriting now and sending things out so that it looks like you wrote it. But the discerning person will know, guess what? It's pretend.
Yeah.
They want the real. They
There you
don't
go.
want pretend.
Yeah. I love it. That's a great way to wrap up this episode. They don't want pretend, they want the real thing, and you are the real thing. So be real, be human.
Yep.
Yep. Love it. Love it. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Let's make sure that folks know how to get a hold of you and what resources you have.
Yeah, probably the best way to find out about me is go to my website, drrogerhall.com, drrogerhall.com. On that, you can find my books, Staying Happy, Being Productive, DIY Brain, and Expedition. You can also have access to my online course, Freak Out. You can find out more about me and the work I do by logging on. You can contact me through that website and be happy to see what I can do to help.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, as always, Dr. Hall, your insight is amazing. I hope this is helpful. I hope that it creates a sense of urgency and high degree of interest and in delving into the things that create the real relationship that we need to have, and not be fearful of AI. Lean into it and embrace it where it's applicable, but be way more high touch than high tech. And I'll leave it at that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
love it, love it. All right. Other than that, we'll wish everybody a blessed one. Take care.
Thank you.